everybody, it's Clarke here, and I'm going to be participating today in the Crafty Maven Getaway Challenge activity or event. And I am going to try to challenge you guys to use a little bit of mixed media on your layouts. And lots of times the comments that I see on my videos and on other videos on YouTube are that people find it a little bit daunting to get into mixed media on their layouts. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit, just in a brief introduction to my video today, and then I'm going to speed it up and just go through the motions of the layout. So I just want to talk a little bit about some basic products that I find are super useful for getting into mixed media. So one of the things that I find is super important is gesso. And this is just some Liquitex gesso for surf preparation that I bought at Michael's. And you can see that, or maybe you can't, I'm not sure, that I have put this gesso down onto this white textured American Crafts cardstock. And you can't really see it on here. You can't really even tell that that it's on there, but what I did was I just took a card and I just put it on there, and I just smoothed it out really thinly. And the best thing that you can do when you're doing that is to let it dry, just air dry, not use your heat tool, because the heat tool will really cause your paper to buckle. And in most of the videos that you'll watch on my YouTube channel, I'm not that patient, but a really good tip is to take a whole bunch of pieces of white cardstock and do the prep on them ahead of time, so that maybe you've got 5 or 6 pages already done and prepped and ready to go, so that when you sit down at your table to scrap, you can just grab one of those pages that's already been prepped with gesso and you can just go for it and it's ready to go. And you can see that this is really nice and smooth. So I really love gesso and I use it quite a bit. Another product that I really like is texture paste, and you can get a variety of different kinds of paste. This happens to be the Ranger texture paste, which is my favorite just because I like the way that it sets up. But you can also get, you can get the golden modeling paste and so on and so forth, and you'll see lots of people in their videos using different kinds of texture paste. Another thing that I like to have in my craft room for mixed media is some paints. And it doesn't matter if it's watercolor or acrylic paint, whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable working with. The nice thing about watercolor is, it does dry pretty fast, and acrylic does take a little bit longer to dry. But if you use it thinly enough, it's not that bad. My favorite is either Liquitex Heavy Body Acrylic, which I pick up at Michael's, or you can get it at I'm sure if you're in the States, I hear lots of people talking about Hobby Lobby and Joanne and all that kind of stuff. We don't have those, or at least I don't have that in my province in Canada, but I do have a Michael's and I can get my hands on Liquitex acrylic paints. And I can also get the Dina Wakley paints, which are great also. So those are 2 of my favorites. I did recently buy some golden fluid acrylics, just kind of like some basic ones at my local, one of the art stores in the closest city to me had a big sale. And so I guess I felt like I could justify buying some golden fluid acrylics, but I haven't really worked with them much in my videos or anything yet. Another thing that I really like to have is something that I can add some pigment to my texture paste with. And it could be, something like this Eyes Ink pigment ink. It could be just a stamp pad that you can put down on plastic and mix with your texture paste. It could be, a variety of different coloring tools or medium that you could use to add to your texture paste. And texture paste is pretty forgiving. You can add a lot of different products to it to colorize it, to make it a color, and then use it with a stencil or whatever. So stencils are another thing that I use a lot with my mixed media, whether it's with mists or with texture paste or with paint or ink or whatever. So in my mind, stencils are huge when you're using mixed media on your layouts. So those probably are the top things I would say that are key for mixed media when you're just getting started. Some things that you could, you know, just kind of start out with. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to work on, on my layout. For my challenge, I've prepared it. Like I said, I've prepared this paper with some gesso. I've adhered it down to some confetti pattern paper from Crepe Paper, and this piece is Cloud 9, which is one of my favorite pattern papers from that line, from the confetti line. And what I also did was I backed the whole thing with a piece of really, really thin cardboard. And if you used to or still do, excuse me, buy pattern paper and you get the, you know, in the packs, and you get that little piece of cardboard with it. And I have a lot of the Stampin' Up! Ones. I saved all of these little pieces of cardboard over the years. I've got a huge stack. That's really nice to back your layout on if you're going to be doing some mixed media, because it just keeps it really stiff. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start my layout. So I've got that stencil ready to go here, and I'm going to use that. That's a Chamel stencil that I got in a rack from Moira, and Moira and I exchanged racks sometime this year, I guess, but my rack came from her not too long ago, and I got these really great little Chamel stencils. So thanks again, Moira, and I'm going to use them for the first time on this layout. So I just mixed up some of that texture paste with some really, really pale pink Stampin' Up! Ink, and I wanted to keep it really, really light pink because I want it to kind of match up with some, or at least complement the colors that you're going to see in the photograph that I'm going to be using. So I did mark off on the paper with pencil where I wanted those hearts ahead of time. I did that marking on there just so that I could know just exactly where I wanted to put that texture paste. So you can see I just trimmed a little bit off that stencil, the excess plastic there, so that it's just, I can move it around my layout a little bit easier. And I'm just putting a fairly thin coat of that texture paste on there. It's not too thick. So I'm just going to get it on there, and I'm going to work on the other side. I'm just going to take that smaller heart stencil, which is another still from that Chamel, and right now I'm just going to mark off where I want that, where I'm going to put the photo on the layout, so that I can add some of those smaller hearts and texture paste over on the other side there. So when I started, I wasn't really sure how much mixed media I was going to do on this layout. I had the photograph picked, and I knew that I was going to do mixed media in my challenge today for the crop, but I didn't know what all I wanted to use. And I tend to not try to go too bold, I guess, when I'm scrapping these pictures of Bailey's graduation, just because I really like to have that photograph be really center focal point kind of thing. So I try not to get too crazy with the mixed media for these. But of course I wanted to add a little bit, obviously, since that's what my challenge is all about. So I just added off camera, I added a little bit of a quote around those hearts with a really fine black pen, and it says on there, "Joy is net of love by which you can catch souls." And that is a quote that I got off of Pinterest, and I believe it was Mother Teresa. So I thought that was pretty cool, and you'll see that the title on the layout is going to be Joy. Anyway, so I'm just mounting up that photo of Bailey onto some white cardstock, and then onto that really pretty gold polka dot vellum that came in one of the hip kits. And I'm just going to pop that up onto using some foam tape, just to lift the photograph up off that black layer that I'm going to be putting it on there. So just to pop it up, give it some dimension a little bit there. And I'm just going to stick that down. I'm just going to go ahead and commit to that placement right away here. Wow, I know you guys are shocked to watch me scrap before. Sometimes it takes me a while to decide to actually stick that down. These are some, I think they're Maggie Holmes ephemera pieces. This summer I was shopping at a little scrapbooking store, and they had some really old stock, and I kind of felt like I'd found a gold mine because I didn't have any of these, and I really love them, and they're the perfect tone of pink for this layout. So I just put those ephemera pieces on the side there, and that same with that little record chipboard piece that says remember this moment. And I'm just gonna just continue to work away on creating some pink and black in this layout, using some different little embellishments. Now here's my cut files, which is part of the challenge today. So I don't know about you guys, but I find that I just don't use my Cameo enough. And what I really liked about this cut file from the Silhouette store is it kind of matches the pattern that's in that confetti paper, these little leaves. And so I cut them using some black cardstock, obviously, and I'm just going to use them as an accent piece here. So I really, really like buying my cut files from the Silhouette store, and I'll tell you why. I'm Canadian, and right now the Canadian dollar is in the tank. And so I'm trying to buy as many of my supplies in Canadian dollars as I can, including those cut files from the Silhouette store. And besides, they do have some really great cut files there, obviously, to choose from. So that works out well for me. So I'm just going to find some spots as I'm working around here for those different pieces, trying to balance them out on each side of the photograph. And those little hearts were, I think they were from the Happy Things collection from Pink Fresh Studio, and the same with the title, which are really nice and black and shiny. And I liked how they added, just, continued in with that heart theme that's on the page as well. So, working with mixed media can be as simple or as detailed as you want it to be, obviously. I mean, I didn't use any paint on this layout at all. I chose just to use the texture paste for the color and that ink pad, and then of course the little embellishment pieces in the ephemera that I used. So, but I could easily have added some watercolor or some paint on here, just to mix it up. And that's the really fun thing about mixed media is you can use obviously as much or as little as you want on a layout, and it just does add just some really nice detail, dimension, and interest to your project. And so this is just really simple and basic. I wanted to do something that wasn't going to take too much time for the challenge today, but just to challenge you to get into your scrap room and get out some of those mixed media products and be bold. Don't be afraid and use them, have some fun with them. So I want to thank everybody from the Crafty Maven Getaway group who organized the crop today, and all of the ladies who are participating. This is a whole lot of fun, and I hope you can play along with us today. And don't forget to add your photographs of your layouts to the album that we've created for the different challenges, and go ahead and just have some fun with us. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to know about mixed media. And if you want to see more of my mixed media projects, you can join me on my own YouTube channel, which is just Mari Clarke. So thanks so much for watching, and have a fun day with the Crafty Maven Getaway Challenge today with our crop. See you next time. Bye.